Alright, this is Clayton, the Crazy Walnut Farmer. It is September of 2021, and it's time for an update. I'm going to try to briefly summarize everything that's going on real quick. There's never a good time. I'm just pulling out of COVID. It's been a rough spell. I lost a lot of weight. Thankfully, I had a son to help me out here on the farm, and he's kept it going. But we've had our challenges again this year. But things are alive, things are growing. So this year, we're going to try to make our walnuts available for purchase. And I wanted to describe my objective here. I have tried to the best of my knowledge and strength to have a farm that is as clean as you could possibly get it. Clean product, nutrient dense, pesticide free, obviously, all those things. I have a son, Ivan, and he does not have the ability to process toxins. They go through and straight to the brain, and it makes him sick. So we have to be very, very particular of how we eat. And part of my motivation lately in the farm is to provide food of such high quality and cleanliness when it comes to zero toxins and nutrient density, because I have our little Ivan in mind. We have to be careful with what we cook with. We have to be careful with all the products that we get, and cleaning supplies, paint, you name it. Our environment has to be pretty clean, zero toxins. And so again, my motivation here is to provide a product that I know I can give my son that is clean. And I've been in agriculture here in California for a few years now, and know both the ins and outs of organic and conventional, because I've worked both sides. And I'll tell you this, when it comes to finding organic products that have been raised organic from the beginning, when it comes to fruit and nut trees, that's going to be a challenge. It's very hard to grow a crop, a tree, without using herbicides those first 3 years. Very difficult. So usually the practice is to use herbicides and pesticides those first 3 years, get the tree established, and then you can turn around and the slow process of 3 years to convert into organic. The challenge I see with this is that for those groups that are super sensitive to toxins, you still have those 3 years. And regardless of what you believe, I think the science is still out there. We're learning a lot more about glyphosate. It doesn't have the half-life as what we originally thought. It's a little tougher to break down. We're finding it all over. We're finding it in foods everywhere. So my commitment to my customer is, I grew these trees from the beginning without using pesticides and herbicides. I picked an orchard that was right next to an elementary school. I picked land that was right next to an elementary school, and 4 years ago I planted on this ground. This ground was flood irrigated and grazed. So the need for pesticides and herbicides was not there. It was just flood irrigated, and the sheep grazed off through flood irrigation. So nothing commercially grown. So I started with a clean system. And 4 years ago, I planted these trees, and I have battled trying to keep this tree alive without the use of herbicides. And I lost a lot, probably 20% of my trees. So there's a reason that so many transition, right? Start with doing conventional and using pesticides, and then convert over, because it's just so much easier. But I didn't do that. So you have that. That's my commitment. This land is good, clean land from the beginning. The person that I bought it from, he's my neighbor. 30 years ago, they put checks in it to do flood irrigation, and it's been clean. And it was open ground before that, just fallow, nothing. So, point being, it's clean. We have not used pesticides, herbicides on this 30 acres ever. So you can count on a product that's actually going to be clean from the beginning, from the first moment of these walnuts' life. It has not seen pesticides or herbicides. Now, this is super important for me just based on my son's condition, and I know there are other people's kids and other people that are out there like that need something that they can count on that will be absolutely clean. So that's my commitment, and I will continue to do that and continue to have these walnuts here that you can count on that will be clean. Pesticide, herbicide free. No synthetic fertilizers. The only fertilizer that I've ever used out here is what comes out of the back end of grazing animals that are pasture grazed, plan grazed, and we move them on a weekly basis, if not daily basis. So they're getting fresh grass, and they rotate through, and then the land gets a rest to make sure that these animals are not grazing in their own, feces. We're moving them. We're giving them the best, and so that's the fertilizer. The rest has been this abundant jungle. If you can see, I'm getting about probably 10 feet tall now of cover crop right now. It is abundance, and every species has its purpose. You can see here I've got lots of species of beans, mung beans and many other beans. Beans are nitrogen fixers. I've got sorghum Sudan grass and birdseed millet, and grasses are great for mycorrhizae or for fungal species in the ground to really help jumpstart nutrition availability through the natural process. I also have these yellow flowers, they're really pretty. That's sun hemp. Sun hemp is also a nitrogen fixer, so that's another way to find fertilizer. And there's flax, you can find flax. There's vetch, which is also a nitrogen fixer. A lot of buckwheat, which helps mineralize phosphorus. A lot of clovers, which has nitrogen. But as you can see, you can't even see to the next tree row because this is so dense. All of this vegetation, I will just lay it down and plant right over it and start the process all over again. All of this turns into nutrients and food for the microbes. And right now, doesn't take long, and you're surrounded by insects. There's such a balance and such abundance when it comes to insects. And the birds come in by the flocks. It's really quite abundant. There's really no other way to describe this system, is that it's just so abundant. And it can be replicated. But my soils, I do a lot of testing to see what my available elements are, and over the 4 years they've gotten more and more available. I have more and more nutrients, and that flies in the face of of what was otherwise called weeds. This abundance here is not competition. Once you have an once you have many species, then there's this synergistic relationship, and it all builds on itself. So here's the walnut tree. Here's my walnuts, and they will be for sale this year. And I hope that you can enjoy them and value them as much as our family has. All of these walnuts will be hand-picked by my family, and they will be dried by the sun. Not dried by propane, not dried like all the rest in the industry. These nuts will be dried by the sun and hand-picked. So obviously they will be a bit more expensive with all that goes into this, but it's a clean product. It's nutrient dense. It's food that you can count on for your family. Um, Please feel free to contact me with any questions, and I will be happy to answer them. But again, this is just the niche market that I'm providing to those people that are looking for this type of product, clean product, that might have others, that might have also family members that are sensitive to certain toxins in their environment. So yeah, with that, Godspeed.